Draft your LCS team and earn money. Alpha Draft.
Because, of course, Gnar a huge one, but Lupa just didn't quite manage to make it effective. First ban out, though, from LGD. Going to be that Azir, and Rek'Sai being taken off the board from M3 as well. Not a surprise there. Gnar, though, finally going to see a ban, and Flames popped over onto the LGD lineup. So, of course, Flame there in the top lane instead of Acorn.
You have to see they're really committed to this squad rotation compared to IG, who today, of course, struggled with a rotation, bringing Save into the lineup. It's been very consistent. Acorn the first game, and then Flame the second game, just irrespective of performance. So it'll be interesting to see if we see a different carry flavor coming out of Flame. I was a bit disappointed to see him playing kind of Rumble on the lane swap and kind of other bizarre things against EDG. If you're going to use Flame, put him on Cannon, put him on a lane dominating champion, put him in the top lane and say, let's go fight, guys.
I would love to see Cannon make it back. We'll see whether that does come through. Of course, Rumble going to be taken away actually from LGD. Made it work beautifully in the last game, but not going to be seen here as Lupa just thinking about the final ban to come through. We'll see what does come down.
Top laner bans here. 3 already coming out. Yeah, I mean,
and a lot of champions available now as well, and namely that Kassadin's still up. Of course, we have Love City and PYL's Thresh is available and still available, and they have the opportunity to take that one off the board if they would like to. We'll see whether that's what they decide to go with, because Janna also still there. Definitely a priority pick in that one. Jarvan going to be available, but Lissandra is going to be what's considered here by Flame, potentially for that top lane, but pretty much a flex pick here with that one, but it's going to be locked in.
I'm not surprised to see the Kassadin ban just because Wayless is a wonderful Kassadin player.
Oh, yeah.
It adds a bit of carry flavor to the top lane. It's a flex pick. There's all sorts of things you can do with it, so ban it out there. But so many strong champions. We already see Jarvan locked in, so we're going to have the ganking flavor. I mean, Jarvan Janna is kind of the dream lock-in just because you don't have Janna to nullify any of that Jarvan engage. Of course, you buff up the AD on Jarvan just as a very simple thing. And you have the Queen of Disengage with probably the Prince of Engage, so you're feeling pretty good about yourself. And you're not really telling the enemy too much about your comp either.
Yeah, certainly a regal lineup there as Schwinn going to look at that Lee Sin once more. Definitely played that one to great effect in their last matchup and really secured every dragon. Made sure even in a 50-50 situation, picking that one up was made to look easy as PYL looks to see what he wants to answer Love CD's Janna. It's going to be that Nami locked in.
In a 2v2 lane, I really like the Nami just because she has the same flavor of Disengage but with sustain, with a bit more poke. In a laning sense, I think Nami outdoes Janna, but of course, nobody can match Janna in the late game. So very similar flavors of champ, though, coming out from the support picks here.
Yeah, and still every AD carry available, so it could be that Corki to be picked up here by Candy if he wants to. Civ is available as well. Maokai is available at this time, and Candy just happy to go back to that comfort champion. Saw that this Corki has been working out, but hovering over a couple of different options, and we'll see what he does decide to go with, because at the moment, if that Tristana gets locked in, they've got a terrifying late game comp, but not what they're going to decide to go with here.
It's almost like he's just throwing it out there to Imp and saying, hey, Tristana's available. We've even seen Trist bans in the LPL. Trist has actually seen a lot of focus play despite those suite of nerfs to her recently. This would be a good pickup here, but of course being hovered over by PYL, why wouldn't he locked in his own AD carry? So we'll wait to see what they decide to go with here. I mean, so much engagement. Look at that Jarvan Maokai. I mean, that's some crazy front line right here.
Is it going to happen again?
Would he blind pick it? That's the question.
Yeah, that's the thing that's quite scary here, as we have the Fizz being hovered, and Wayless needs to decide what he wants to take to the mid lane. If it's not going to be Lissandra, of course, could be locked in, but that's going to be the lock-in of Zed now. So Wayless with a bit of manners here on this side of the draft.
And that's what we've heard about Wayless. He does have a bit of that flair about him, and locking in Zed blind pick and saying, hey, Dade, what do you want to play?
Who is your
Would Dade do it again? Would he pick the Yasuo here?
Whoa.
He did it before.
And made it not look like a counter matchup at all. He did fantastically.
But let's be fair. That was against World Elite. World Elite have really struggled this season. So, but I mean, he's kind of been challenged here. The gauntlet's been thrown out. It's hey guys, I'm going to take Zed away. What you got? And LeBlanc, he's got a recent win on LeBlanc, but it's definitely not a Dade champion, at least at heart right here. Maybe it's the smart pick, though.
In the last game. So
absolutely.
Is going to lock that one in. So Dade's LeBlanc versus Wayless's Zed here. Going to be a very interesting matchup, and we'll see whether it does work out for Dade, because he's going to be looking to really put his claim on this game, because he was made to look a fool in that last one. Of course, being soloed out by Imp towards the end of that game, couldn't really split push against anyone on the team, when we were talking about the fact that they didn't have any options to split push against Dade. So we'll see whether he can actually come back into his own here, because, of course, Dade, you said, plays as a confidence player, and if he loses this one as well, you could imagine that that's going to be shattered a little bit.
Absolutely. And this last matchup to finish the weekend, it's been a wonderful extended weekend of LPL action, of course.
Yeah.
M3 have a really interesting lineup here just because they have so much team fight. They've got the pick potential of Maokai, the pick potential of Jarvan, but not really the wombo we've associated. We've seen so much Rumble Jarvan. We've kind of been spoiled by the AoE engages right there. The only real AoE coming out of this team is, the slight tanky AP coming out of Lupa, and of course the Corki missiles and the Corki phosphorus bomb. Corki does a lot of AoE, but this game is going to be a lot about throwing the gambit to Love CD and this M3 team and saying, look, if you can get the vision advantage over PYL, it's a tall order.
Certainly is.
And you can open up those picks for Dade, definitely a good chance of picking up a victory here. But if not, if you get behind in vision in a straight team fight, I can't see M3 coming up trumps unless Ruo really goes off in the jungle this game.
And it has to be that you're thinking that M3 probably wanting to make this one really work out towards that mid-game. They have that Corki, huge mid-game spike with that Trinity Force. But we are going to get into this game very soon, guys. Don't go anywhere. And welcome back. We are now onto the Rift with LGD and M3 for our final matchup of the night. LGD now wearing blue against M3 now in the red. And LGD looking to make this a 2-0 victory after a dominant performance in the last game, despite what the gold would have told you.
Absolutely. More love taps in the mid lane. So much feeling between Dade and Wayless after taking away that Zed. Man, I don't know what to say about Wayless just taking away that champion. Dade got destroyed on Zed, and then he was like, hey, I can play Zed pretty good too.
Yep, blind picks it into Dade as well for a little bit of bad manners as the Sonic Wave's going to find its mark onto Ruo's bottom.
It's not. I mean, bad manners is kind of insinuating something. It's just basically. I think it's good.
It's a bit of fun.
It's good competitive fun, isn't it? It's just real confidence play, which is what we want to see. We want to see feeling between these two teams. We want to see that this game means something to them.
And that sort of smack talk.
Absolutely, and that sort of smack talk, it just adds to the spectacle, I think.
Certainly does, and Dade will see whether he has taken the bait here and whether he'll go ultra aggressive against Wayless. Of course, both of these champions having massive juke potential. I mean, we could see pretty heroic duels here coming from the mid lane, and if Wayless plays like he did in the last game, of course, his Cassiopeia was petrifying, no pun intended. See whether Dade can make this one work out for him. I actually saw an audible groan.
There was an audible groan. It was to match Base Time's happiness at the Cassiopeia's pick in the first game was his groan at that particular pun. But never mind, we'll get into this one. Luba actually doing the little smart trick we've seen here, loading up the saplings at the Raptor camp. Going to pick that up very happily at level 1.
And Love City going to hang around there as well. So another lane swap to come in. Now Imp probably pretty happy with that one. Of course, went to the bottom lane, got a standard lane. There were no extra wards put down just to discover this particular lane swap, and Candy hanging out on this top side of the map as well. So do you think this is something that they really wanted to do on the side of M3?
Well, this is definitely M3 opting into the lane swap, just because you've got, of course, the bot lane sent to the top lane here. In terms of a lane matchup, I do like it for Corki, so it's interesting to see them opt out of it, but maybe it's just a situation that the Lissandra Maokai matchup is not the best matchup for Maokai right there. And it also, the one thing you can say is here that he's very good at that jungling, going through there, getting that quick level 2, getting a little burst of experience. We'll have to look at the lanes to see whether they're holding off. It looks like a freeze up top and a bit more of a push down the bottom lane here. Imp hasn't skilled anything here, so of course he's happy to let it push out. But yeah, I mean, Maokai's going to be quite happy in 1v2, that's for sure.
Yep, hanging out with his brethren in the jungle there as well. We do have Schwen just clearing out his jungle at the same time. So Ruo going very, very low in here. He's actually going to use his smite to get some health back on that red buff. Clear that one away for himself. And we saw Kakao doing this as well. I mean, Jarvan can do a full clear of his jungle, which is what has just been completed here by Ruo. So he's going to head back, finish off potentially that Trailblazer, but it's going to be that, of course, chilling smite available here for Ruo. So wanted to make sure that his gangster is impactful as possible.
And whenever we move on to the next batch, I think chilling smite's just going to be the norm for junglers, just because once they move on to the charge system, the ability to smite someone in a team fight, then 15 seconds later smite an objective, I think is really, really good. You don't really need the double AoE clear from ranges unless you really, really are focused on hard farming.
Yeah, that is true. And Looper hanging out now in the bottom lane. Imp has managed to make this lane push as Flame just going to use that Claw of Doom.
Missed a lot of CS at the turret there. Not that it was easy to pick up, but struggling for some of those last hits there was Lissandra.
Yeah, Looper now with a little bit of a lead. Almost double, actually, but when you're talking about these single and double-digit numbers very early on, it's not really too much to write home about, as LGD and Ruo just following each other around the enemy jungle, getting a lot of vision through here. As Xuen actually might be caught out just a little bit. He's going to go ask Imp for some help. And they're both going to just chill out together, but that's 3 versus 2 here on the bottom side of the map. PYL's making his way back through, of course, has their own bevy of wards throughout the enemy jungle, so a lot of vision being afforded early on here. Of course, these lane swaps allowing that to happen when you don't have as much pressure, as Xuen actually has found Ruo here as well, but is it the other way around? Chilling Smite does go down. There's the Aqua Prison as well. The Exhauster comes through out of both, but here's the teleport followed up almost instantly on the other side. Flame's going to come in. He's going to Claw of Doom over this one. Imp's found his way. There's the flash into the snare. Wayless now going to come through and get the first kill for Imp of all people, and Flame picking up the next one, and they transition straight into this dragon. 5 members strong down here, and what a beautiful play yet again from LGD.
That rotation from LGD was incredible. I thought for sure Flame was going to cancel his teleport just because it looked like it was going to be a lost hope. But the transition from Zed, who was able to push in Dade on this Lissandra, of course, has to use so much mana to clear by using that W ability there to clear the waves, does LeBlanc, was able to come through. They pick up 2 unanswered kills, even pick up the cheeky dragon as well. And we're going to see a replay right here. At this point, I thought the fight was going to end when I saw the teleports coming through right here. But Flame does complete his teleport, of course, has the glacial path to go over. And Zed's right there. And look at this. They even focus on Janna right here just because they know Ruo's going to be dead. And they pick up the dragon from that. And then another kill that happened during the replay right there. LeBlanc was able to pick up an answering kill on the Zed.
And Imp went down incredibly low there in the bottom lane as well. We can see Looper putting on a lot of pressure, although now it doesn't have very much mana. So Imp probably going to be okay here. But Wayless, of course, falling down there in that mid lane, and Dade picking up a kill. So asserting his dominance and starting off, getting towards that Morellonomicon relatively quickly here in this matchup.
Yeah, as we see the fight in the top lane. Flames actually ended up with a red buff after all this. It does have some great trading potential between her passive and, of course, those auto attacks right now as Candy takes a nice burst of damage. They'll clear out the pink, though. And once again, the support's just feeling a little malnourished in these lanes.
Yeah, it's true. Definitely isn't a good day to be a support as Flame lets that Q go wide. And now with Love City here as well, there's probably no kill potential coming through from Flame, so that red buff not necessarily going to be capitalized on unless Xuen's up here to try and get something going on.
So level 6 is available on both the mid lanes here as Xuen tries to, I think, fails at trying to sneak into the top lane here. I'm hoping we're going to see some outplays in the mid lane here because a solo kill will be something to behold between these two.
Yeah, let's just talk to our cameraman and just say, let's just watch the mid lane from now on.
As long as you can signal to them to really go in ham as well, that'd be good.
That is very true. Hellengale going to go wide here onto Flame, but just sending him a message here is Candy and Love City saying, look, you're on your own, buddy, so you just hang back. Not going to listen, though.
No real CS values to talk about. You know, slight advantages in lanes. Nothing really to dwell upon here. And no big items being completed just yet. I imagine about 400 gold away from his Morellonomicon as Dade, which will probably be the first big item completed this game.
Yeah, the one thing I would like to talk to you about, though, is Imp's pickup here of what looks like the components to that static shiv very early on, not opting to go for any damage here at all, just wanting to get that static shiv for extra burst in lane. And do you think that that's going to work out here in this lane swap situation?
It's just a situation of wanting to push in waves. You know, that's obviously what you pick up that static shiv early for, is to have that extra pushing potential between the explosive shot passive and, of course, the static shiv is going to be pushed very hard. But what you will say is that's going to ensure that a lot of free farm goes down to Looper here unless they can set up a turret dive.
Yeah, Dade may have found Wayless here as well as Xuen's clearing out this Scuttle Crab, and it's a decent... That's actually a miss on the chain. So that's why Dade didn't do quite as much damage there. Another few spells to come through. But with this blue buff, Dade is not going to worry too much about being low on mana. Just wanting to assert some dominance here in this mid lane.
Low on mana, huh? The Zed has the blue buff as well, but Dade, as you point out, he's still low on the absolute mana pool, though, which is kind of the interesting thing. Even the blue buff can't really help him out.
You see, that'll be regenning relatively quickly as Longsword and, of course, that save are going to be completed by Rua here in the jungle. He just wants to try and get to that jungle item as quickly as possible. That warrior enchantment does seem to be coming through. His teleport is actually going to be blown here by M3. Looper coming around wanting to defend that red buff, and Xuen just going to mosey on out and say, yeah, well, if you care that much about it, I'll let you have it.
Actually a really big loss there, that teleport for Looper, just because look at all the minions they're crashing onto the bottom turret here. It would have been a significant amount of CS. We discussed before that, you know, it seems
tower damage.
It seems there's that whole turret pushing mentality coming out from Tristana, which would have ensured that Maokai would have been able to pick up that early CS, maybe go for that early Rod of Ages rather than kind of being relegated to having to go for a Righteous Glory just to have a decent item timing.
Yeah, and also the members of LGD cheating towards this bottom side of the map, knowing that Imp is painting a bit of a target on his back here as Dade actually gets killed by Wayless in a 1v1 in the mid lane. This is the sort of thing that we wanted to catch, but it is so hard because they would have lasted for almost no time.
Yeah, I was actually able to catch it on my screen. There was just a complete 1v1 there. The flash to get the last bit of guaranteed damage to ensure that the death mark exploded him came through. And that's the 1v1, and you have to think Dade right about now, 1-0 down in this series, getting solo killed by Wayless on an interesting champion matchup right there. It's going to be quite furious.
He is certainly going to be furious. We'll see whether he lets us know about how angry he is via his play in the next couple of minutes, because of course he's the only one with a kill for his team, and he really needs to show up here, and it may be the tilt to come through from Dade.
We won't speculate too much. Hopefully he can keep it in tune here. Just because, again, the game's still very close. See Dade stopping the back there very smartly. And the match continues as normal. We haven't really seen the real objective focus just yet, but of course the second dragon's coming up very soon.
It certainly isn't. Now, if we look at this game as if it was the game before, of course, very even throughout the entire time. LGD with some fantastic objective control, especially considering those neutrals. But now you add on top of it the sort of late game guarantee of this Tristana. Does that make it even more terrifying for M3 and almost more likely that they'll fight even harder for these dragons?
I think it should. The important thing here is going to be vision. It's what I mentioned before. They need the exclusive vision to take advantage of Dade's earlier power spike.
Ooh.
Double flash used there, but Looper not being able to get the engage. M3 are really going to want to pick up this dragon to equalize the dragons because, of course, it was those neutrals last game. There was no gold advantage whatsoever coming out from LGD. It was completely the power of the neutrals.
Yeah, but the Imp actually going a little bit too far forward. Almost shows himself to Dade there, who does actually use that Mimic in order to get some extra damage down. M3 now looking for the dragon. TBQ manages to steal it and get the heck out of dodge. Ruo here as well. The death mark's on him. He's going to die. Imp manages to pick up that kill. They do get a follow-up. Dade picks up a kill there in the back line, but Xuen's going to kill him as well. Looper now solo. PYL's there as well. And Imp, only one dead on the side of LGD.
Yeah, Xuen with the heroic steal coming out right there. Picked up the dragon, extends it to 2-0. And they tanked so much damage there at M3 that they were only going to fall when the damage came through. Once Flame came through with the side engage right there. They might even pick up the inner turret too. There's actually a gold lead on the board here, which is the scary thing. There was no gold lead whatsoever for the first 30 minutes of the previous game. But 3,000 gold, while not an unassailable lead, it's starting to build here for LGD.
Yeah, it is. And of course, no outer turrets have been taken here by M3 as well. Only one has fallen on this map there on the bottom side. Of course, Imp doing a very good job in making sure that he kept the pressure up there. But now 2, 1, and 3 on this Tristana. And we talk about power troughs, and it might be another situation where Tristana just doesn't have one.
Yeah, maybe not to quite the degree that we saw previously, where Tristana just ripped through the enemy team with the 3 main 80 items at 18 to 20 minutes right here. Going to be a bit slower, but Imp doing very well for himself.
Yeah, oh, actually dodges the damage there of that ultimate, but going to flash out of the way of the flag and drag there as well, and going to keep the pressure.
These guys are in
here
trouble.
Here comes the teleport, and do we have... Oh my, doesn't even need the ultimate as the Claw of Doom comes through. The last auto attack, no, it's actually going to be Flame with a Q, picks that one up, and that's the double. And what beautiful, patient play coming through from him. He knew exactly how much he could take.
The communication there was wonderful. We're going to get a quick replay to the Dragon right here. The Dragon gets so low. Look into Twen with the really nice smite right there. And all the low health bars on M3 just meant this was going to be a lost team fight. Imp does fall during this whole fight. But so much AoE, and Looper, he only had a catalyst at this point. He's not tanky whatsoever. 3 for 1 and a Dragon is the trade, and feels good if you're LGD.
Certainly does, and especially after those couple of quick kills in the top lane as well, making that Tristana a little bit more fed. Now has those Berserker's Greaves as well as... Oh, Dade actually getting aggressed on here as well. Oh, just kicked in the head. See you later, Dade. And Xuen just picks up that kill with PYL. And when the jungle is killing the mid laner here, especially on the likes of LeBlanc, it's very scary. Love City, though, and Ruo, they're trying to help this one out. PYL's very squishy here. Tidal Wave comes through, but he's going to die to the Cataclysm. And Xuen now finds himself an orc. Oh, beautiful Warthog. Gets himself over and then lands a Resonating Strike for the kill there, as well as Imp jumps so aggressively into this fight. The Howling Gale to come through CCs him just a little bit, and Looper is very tanky, but not quite tanky enough, as Imp is just auto-attacking so quickly with the Rapid Fire Static Shift. Nothing that they could do. That's going to be the Frozen Tomb actually on top. Lovecity's not going to die to that Buster Shot as Candy tries to get the damage down, but decides nah. Even when Imp is this low, I'm too frightened, as Dade might pick up a kill here on the Flame. He is going to get the follow-up at LGD, 11 kills to 4, and Wayless is split pushing.
And Dade is going to go for a few more kills, but it's worth pointing out, as you say, Wayless has been split pushing this whole time. He's on the inner turret right here.
Double distortion. TBQ has to be very careful. Dade so bloodthirsty. Doesn't manage to pick up that kill. It's a nice little use of the clone.
Yeah, Candy picks up another kill. The answering kills are good, but to lose an inner turret during that whole trade right there with a man disadvantage going even at best, M3 is struggling.
Very, very scary. Again, M3 with some decent defensive warding around their own red side jungle, but Candy answering finally for their first turret of the game, and this is not going to get them anywhere near to that even mark that they were at this stage of the game last time.
You mentioned Maokai being tanky, and while he does have some health, he's nowhere close to that real tanky spot. It's not going to be a Rod of Ages Frozen Heart 22-minute Maokai right here. He's going for the kind of emergency Maokai build, the earlier power spike Maokai build, depending on what time you finish it, obviously. Very close to finishing that Righteous Glory, which would be nice for the engage flavor. But if they engage a team fight really hard, this Maokai is going to explode, and Dade, of course, on this LeBlanc, he's more focused around the picks, and they just have no chance with all this vision coming down from LGD.
4 members strong here, just hanging out, waiting for Dade. Imp just jumping on over. He's not scared of this LeBlanc whatsoever, as the chain's going to land onto Xuen as well, as the Death Mark comes through to follow up. So much damage to come down. He's probably not going to die here as the flash comes through. He's going to get the heck back to his shadow here, as well as Looper's starting off this fight. Candy's actually going to take down Xuen straight away. It's a nice Aqua Prism from PYL, and there's the Buster Shot from the side. Imp's trying to clean up, but Dade takes down Wayless, and PYL now finds himself in an uncomfortable position. He falls down as well, and M3 fight back.
And suddenly, Candy explodes right there. Look at that build. Trinity Force Sorcerer's Shoes. The mid game is on, and ignoring this Corki is at your own peril.
That is exactly right. Flame, though, getting some extra power down, and Candy just gets launched upon by Imp. Imp has just fire in his eyes tonight, just trying to jump on everyone in this Tristana. What is a power trough? No one told Imp about it.
No, he's not even close to that Infinity Edge, but what you can say about Imp is that much like Dade, much like we've discussed Wayless, is that he's a confidence player. In that series against EDG yesterday, it was EDG that was singling out Imp at every opportunity. He was behind in lane, he was getting repeatedly ganked, and he played safe, he played scared, and they lost that game very comfortably, did LGD. In this game, Imp's got a bit of swagger about him. He's rocket jumping in, he's using that rocket jump completely as an offensive tool, and look how much better LGD look for it.
Certainly do. Almost has that Infinity Edge, only another 13 odd gold before that one's going to be completed. Flame now knows that there are a lot of people coming towards him because they do have decent vision in that jungle side. Going to clear out this ward here as well, and then probably move back as Dragon has now become back alive again.
So 2 dragons already, the all-important 3rd dragon on the line for M3 right here. They've already started it, so it's going to be very difficult to try and get it, even with the teleport coming in.
Yeah, teleport coming in. Loop is going to come down. They want to secure it. No, it's going to be stolen by Ruo finally, and they just get the heck out of here and say thank you for the damage.
Very decisive smite from Ruo right there. They were both level 9s. There was no smite advantage on either side. But you see the assist pings coming out. LGD, they're trying to go for the mid rotation. Probably going to have to back out.
Yeah, they probably will, sort of with their head, their tails between their legs at this stage, as Imp just going to clear out this mid wave. Explosive shot helping him out a lot there. There's the flash from Xuen, actually.
Righteous Glory is doing work here, Atlas.
Oh, yeah.
It's such a deceptive thing, but the amount of movement speed it creates in an AoE is massive.
Yeah, and Dade again, he's actually doing a lot better this game. 5-3-2 now on this LeBlanc. Down by a lot of farm. But certainly with those kills, going to be a force to be reckoned with. Has that Morellonomicon going for more of a defensive choice in that Zhonya's Hourglass for his second item. So going to put his power spike behind just a little bit as far as being able to delete people, but going to have that insurance against Wayless.
It's one of those situations where a lot of LeBlanc players felt pigeonholed into going full damage just because of this perceived power trough that LeBlanc had in the late game. The advantage of going for that Zhonya's Hourglass obviously gives you the ability to dodge the death mark, but it allows you to just be a more of a frontline damage dealer. You don't need to necessarily go for a Deathfire Grasp and look for instant explosion of one target. Being able to get to the middle of the fight, activate that Zhonya's, and then just rely on all the mobility available from your ultimate and your W, opens up the flexibility for lots of AoE damage coming out of the LeBlanc. So I do like the Zhonya's pickup here. Only 500 gold away from it. It'll be a big power spike for Dade.
It really will be, and it's very cute to see PYL just hanging out as a bit of a medic there in the top lane, healing Wayless back up after he took down those Krogs. But two members have been drawn up here to stop the split push. It's going to relieve a bunch of pressure for LGD around this map as a pink ward is going to get cleared here as well.
So the game's slowing down a little bit. I mean, at the end of the day, LGD in no rush. They have the advantage in the objectives.
No, and they also have the advantage in the late game as well with this Tristana.
You'd have to think so. I mean, being reductive, unless Dade can get massive and delete Tristana every fight, which I think is going to be difficult. It's going to be quite difficult for M3 in the late game, but not unassailable. I mean, Lissandra's still very useful in the late game. Of course, she's one of the few champions that can't be peeled away by Janna just because of her Glacial Path engage into instant CC. But Janna's disengage will be relevant in the late game. I feel like it's all about Candy right now, which has kind of been the strange thing when you're talking about M3, is that recently it's been all about Candy quite regularly. Dade and Loop have done either respectively in lane. Sometimes they've won out narrowly, but it's been actually Candy who's been doing massively from the bottom lane here. He's already very well achieved his mid-game power spike. And if they can keep trading on that strong mid-game of Corki, there's no reason they can't kind of wrestle some of this momentum back from this game.
And they really want to as well, and we'll see whether Dade can make his presence known. Now has that Zhonya's Hourglass completed, so it is going to be a bit of an engaged spike as Imp takes a Sigil of Malice, and then Dade just disappears, and they're wondering where the heck that LeBlanc went.
Just 40% CDR LeBlanc things.
Yeah, that's just what you do. You just throw out a cute little Q and then distort back. But CS advantages across the board here for LGD. A little bit more pronounced there on that in that middle lane. You can see about 60 CS is the advantage for Wayless on this Zed, who's been split pushing relentlessly this game. And top lane as well, about a 30 CS lead coming through.
I really do like the emphasis on side lane pushing here, just because if you look at Maokai's build, he doesn't have the Rod of Age. He doesn't have that extra ADP that would have come out from a 10-stack Rod of Ages right there. So he doesn't have much wave clear when he finally gets to these minion waves. Maokai has good base values, but it's that Rod of Ages Maokai who can really instant clear waves and be a relevant split pushing risk. This is completely a team fighting Maokai build from Lupa. So if they just split push and take away the team fight element, this Righteous Glory is just not really offering him very much.
No, we've seen Wayless just happy to get to this inner turret over and over again and then maneuver around this map. And you see he has that Ghost Blade, has that Blade of the Ruined King as well. The purple build has been completed here by Wayless and also has those Mercury's Tread, so not going to be locked down for too long at the same time. And two members again being drawn to this top side.
And that's kind of the reality right here. Dade's looking for the pick. He's hoping that Zed tries to challenge Lupa. The solo lane threat right here in the top lane. Not going to take the bait right here. And it's going to probably be a lot of rinse and repeat when it comes to this. Until major objectives like Dragon and Baron are realistically going to come under competition, just push these split waves. And M3 have that limited wave clear, only really Corki having any semblance of AoE wave clear. So they're going to happy to rinse and repeat until maybe Baron comes under contention.
Yeah. And we see a 5,000 gold lead here at this stage for LGD, but now the first dragon has been achieved by M3. So as they go into this later stage of the game, sort of that gold deficit that you experience with that 6% stats is not going to be as visible as far as just how strong they are in these fights, because, of course, that's already been picked up with that heroic steal by Rowe.
Absolutely. It's that invisible power that's available to both teams right here. So it completely equals out. It's only that 5,000 gold lead truly to discuss. And the next dragon comes up in 35 seconds. If they can equalize completely, M3 will feel pretty good.
And explain to me this. Imp has decided to go with another Cloak of Agility after that static shift, so maybe going for a Phantom Dancer after that Infinity Edge. Please, do explain.
I mean, Phantom Dancer, of course, is a very reasonable pickup on Tristana right here. Why he'd go for that over Bloodthirster, I guess, is kind of a question to me. I guess the theory might be that maybe the instant lifesteal, at least at this point in the game, isn't going to be that helpful against a LeBlanc all up in him. Like, whenever LeBlanc gets on top of you, you're likely to die instantly rather than really have a lot of area to move. So maybe that movement speed passive, maybe the ability to move through minions in team fights will be a useful factor to him. His auto attacks, if he's left unchecked with that Phantom Dancer once it's completed, will be insane.
Certainly will. Or maybe he just decided to pick up a little bit of extra crit for the next team fight, as Righteous Glory has been popped. Does manage to secure the dragon though, does Schwen, but he's going to die for it as Corki gets a lot of damage down, and now in the front line, Looper with some massive work. Flame, he's going to die. It was at such low health. Wayless does manage to pick up Love City in the back line and manage to escape as well, as Imp now finds himself in amongst 3 members. He's doing a lot of work trying to survive, but he's not going to survive for long as a double kill comes through now for Looper, and PYL forced to use that flash to get away, but I'm not even sure whether it's going to be enough. And M3 with a beautiful team fight.
Massive team fight win for M3, and crucially there, their front liner, Chuen, died instantly for the dragon pickup right there. After that, there is no true tank coming out of this LGD team. Of course, Flame's able to buy a lot of time between his 5 seconds of invulnerability, but it wasn't enough. And Candy around the back was free hitting the whole time. Corki with that Trinity Force, with the last Whisper right here, was basically shredding everyone on the enemy team. They all fell, and suddenly this game is looking mightily even.
It certainly is far more even than what we were talking about just before. M3 showing definite signs of life in this one. They're not going to give up without a fight, and it looked a little bit worrying as they were bleeding the first couple of dragons, but now looking good. And being said, I mean, still managed to get the 3rd dragon for his team, did Schwen, before he fell down valiantly.
I mean, Schwen really needs to do a lot of heavy lifting when it comes to tank stats right here. Of course, he had the Sidestone, working on the Randuin's Omen here right now. Him falling instantly to Dade right there, that deletion is what won them the fight. There was no peel available. It was every carry for themselves, because basically 3 carries and an army left in the team fight right there. And it was the amount of focus fire and AoE that Candy was able to put down that won them the fight right there. Candy's going for that by the Ruin King, but Imp's in trouble. My goodness.
Righteous Glory comes over there again, and he is going to explode. Get that slow. Imp's trying to kite around. Dade wants to catch up. The chain not quite going to land. He's really, really fast as the teleport comes through from Flame, but Imp, he might die. He's going to. Looper going to get caught down, and Flame, he's only got eyes for Dade. Shuts him down there with a max range Q as the Twisted Advance comes through on top of him. Flame probably doesn't mind, though, as the Tidal Wave comes through just for the disengage. Candy gets caught mid-air by the Aqua Prison. There's the Frozen Tomb. He just gets evaporated. Flame's still alive. He's going to die, though, now, and we'll see whether anything can come through. Love City's going to fall down as well, and this is what happens when Schwen stays alive. A double bubble to come down from PYL as well, and there is no damage from these 2 members in Looper and Ruo, as look at what PYL's trying to do. It's a tank fight, and barely anything's happening. Another Aqua Prison, another Sonic Wave. Rowe, though, has a couple of tank stats and manages to get the kill, but meanwhile in top lane.
A lot was happening there, Atlas. It just wasn't in that very depressing tank fight down the bottom lane. It was all in the top lane. Losing your inhibitor turret from an over chase in the bottom lane was M3, and all their good work undone by just an over chase. They had no need to go for those exit kills once the first one came down. Look at the yakety sax moment coming out here. Now, once Dade missed that chains, they should have backed away. The flash came in. They were able to take out him, but the chase continued, and that's the issue here. Dade died. It was a 1-for-1 trade. You look up the top lane here, watch that mini-map, and at the time, it was Zed far away as we see, a traded kills in the top lane.
Yep, 1-for-1 there, but a couple of assists going over to the side of M3.
But so to give our viewers an idea where Dade is now, that was where Wayless was at the start of that 1v1. the one-for-one trade, sorry. After that, Wales was able to push 2 turrets in the top lane while tanky members kind of auto-attacked each other for a good minute or so.
It was precisely what was happening. But as well, I mean, that Aqua Prison that caught Candy as he Valkyried over the wall was just so beautiful to see as well. PYL putting us on a bit of a show as far as his skills with that Nami are concerned. Last Whisper has been completed by him, so he's hit a huge power spike as far as being able to deal with Looper and, of course, Ro as well on this Jarvan, as Dade is going to come around and do a lot of damage to Flame, but Flame answers back straight away.
And Dade leaves with his tail between his legs.
Most definitely. Flame says, oh man, I wish I had taken Ignite like I would have preferred to in the top lane.
A few metas ago.
Yeah, a few metas ago indeed. Does have that Void Staff, so was able to answer back with a lot of
Well, I mean, you don't
damage.
really need a Void Staff against 30 magic resist Dade here.
That is true. That isn't an Athene's Unholy Grail, that's for sure.
So we look down the items here. I mean, there's still a lot of strong pickups. I mean, Candy's still kind of the real anointed carry of this M3 lineup. We look at the gold here. He's 1,000, 1,500 gold behind the Tristana, but still very relevant in this mid game right here. Of course, we are getting closer and closer to late game. I mean, you might call it late game now with 3 items and a bit coming out of the Tristana. And here comes the Baron bait. They see Malco in the bottom, and he does have teleport available, but face checking this bush is going to be painful.
Oh my goodness, Imp actually jumping in first, and Ruo just straight out of there. The teleport to come in, but there's the Aqua Prison. Looper just gets deleted straight away. Flame's going to secure that kill, and the Baron bait working out beautifully for LGD. But Imp, oh my gosh, how did he survive? Takes a full combo from Dade, but Dade didn't have the death cap. He had the Zhonya's.
He didn't have quite the damage right there. Didn't even have to blow the Mikhails. Probably wasn't able to fast do the Mikhails there, but there's more damage coming.
Yeah, Whalers takes down Love City. That's going to be another kill. Ro's going to fall down as well after the Cataclysm. Dade's here, but he gets cut into his passive form. It's going to be Xuen just ignoring the clone as Dade's forced well back between his turrets. The Glacial Path. And Flame secures the kill under Dade, and that's the ace. And Wayless, look at the top lane I prepared earlier, straight through and taken down the inhibitor.
Absolutely. They're going to back away from this after picking up the inhibitor. They probably could have gone for a Nexus turret, but they thought, why not we go spend this gold, set up for Baron, 1,500 gold plus on both the top laner, mid laner, and even the jungler coming out right here. Tristana's going to soul the dragon, because why not? It's late game Tristana.
Oh, yeah.
And things are looking pretty good for LGD.
They certainly are, especially after that beautifully orchestrated Baron bait. Taking out the tank in that short time as well, knowing that Imp had that power spike of picking up the last Whisper so he could just tear through these targets. We've got a Zephyr coming down on Wayless as well. So that's an interesting item. How about we discuss that for a moment?
Let's not. Say we did.
Randuin's Omen's being completed, as well as the Banshee's Veil here for Xuen as well. There's just so many big item spikes to come in for LGD. Another needlessly large rod for Flame as well, so that hat going to be coming down. And man, I just don't know what M3 can do here to this LGD lineup, who are just looking so strong.
The Stinger and a pickaxe is quite the power spike, let me tell you.
Most definitely. I think that Wayless just doesn't really mind. Also wants to get more tenacity items.
And Pastry Time was talking about the Mana Ghost Blade. Maybe the story of the 2015 LPL Spring will be the Mana Stinger.
The Mana Stinger. Of course, he does like a bit of that cooldown reduction, as Love City is going to wander towards these guys. But I think we're going to have a little bit of packet loss from China here.
It's very amusing seeing Lupa just walk along. Sometimes clients are quite amusing.
They certainly are, but things definitely looking in control here for LGD as we have a slight guffaw on the caster desk. But my gosh, they just looked so strong, and especially when they moved into that Baron bait scenario. I mean, things could have gone either way at that stage, but after that, you could imagine that M3 feeling pretty demoralized.
I mean, credit to M3. After the early game, it was 8-2 at one point. I was like, okay, so this game's over.
Yeah.
But they showed a lot of heart coming back into it. They made some good decisions. The steal on the Dragon was clinical by Ruo early in the game to stop that objective snowball. Because, of course, that objective snowball lost them the first game. That was all about dragons.
Oh, yeah.
That was a dragon fight for the 5th dragon, and they were 100 gold behind.
Yeah, and it was
going for
after
a 5th
that
dragon.
5th dragon did actually go down in favor of LGD, and then they started a fight, and that is...
I can't imagine there's ever been a situation where a team has 4 out of 4 dragons and is behind in gold.
Yeah.
but that's the way it was.
So not going to be working out too well for them so far, but we'll see whether we can get back into this one and see how it ends up. M3 might be able to have some sort of valiant comeback here, but it's looking pretty in the bag for a 2-0 here for LGD. And this lineup has been looking strong, despite which top laner they bring in as well. I mean, Flame has shown a lot of prowess here on this Lissandra.
Yeah, that flexibility opens up a lot of strategic options for them right there. Sometimes I get into those weird situations where it's lane swap Flame on Rumble, where you're like, okay, I wish we played Akon twice in a row. But I just love that squad structure of the LPL this season. I mean, look at IG, where they have the flavor of, do we run the KT Rolster Arrows famous mid-lane jungler synergy with that rookie Cacao duo?
Yeah. Of
course, notably absent in today's loss for IG. Or do they go for that different flavor, put in the bastion of the top lane, carry and save, and run Zatai, the man of 120 champions in the mid lane?
That's definitely.
It's been really, I mean, IG's really interesting in that they have a sub shot caller and now a new shot caller who speaks Korean. There's just a lot of different flavors around these squads, and that's what adds to the LPL's appeal. There's never been this kind of squad atmosphere in League of Legends. There's been subs, in the LCS has been established for a long time. But the squad aspect of it, it just feels more and more like traditional sports. You just keep adding to that bench, keep adding to your options. If you underperform, you're not necessarily kicked out of the team. You're just given a bit of a week or two to kind of prove yourself in scrims, and someone else gets a shot.
Yeah, and we'll see. And also it gives that option of sort of electing to go for sort of a different shot if you think that against this particular team, this player is going to do better. If this guy's got this particular player's number in this matchup, they can use that one as well. And it adds that extra layer of strategy to what we see in League of Legends, and it's been working out really, really nicely. But that was actually going to be a victory here for LGD. We had a few packets lost, a few issues coming from China, but what a beautiful display, and I don't think anyone's surprised when we say that LGD really had that one in the bag.
Yeah, they were able to pick up the Baron just as they got that check from Lupa that we hilariously caught on camera. They managed to pick it up. They took out the victory, a 2-0 win, a really big win in the context of their loss to EDG. I can't really communicate how decisive a victory that was for EDG, who, of course, at the time needed their own victory after losing to Snake. So the race for second place is really, really heating up. OMG at the moment, right up the top there, 8-0. But everyone else really sniffing there with 6-2. One series can change anything. The LPL is exciting this season, Atlas, and we're only 2 weeks in.
Only 2 weeks in, of course, and we've got so many weeks to go. But this was the final match of today. We are going to be back next week with more LPL action. In fact, an entire weekend of every LPL game brought to you in English by us here at the Oceanic Studio. But for now, on behalf of myself, Mr. Papa Smithy, Pastry Time, and Spawn, and of course our entire production crew, thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you next week.